You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
Third week of the coronavirus. Don is here. Mick, of course, is, he's hunkered down.
Hunkered down.
Hunkered, I think. Is that the word? Hunkered?
Oh, well, I've never heard of it, but you're the wordsmith.
No,
So I'll go along with whatever you say when it comes to words.
That's stupid, Don, to go along with everything everyone says. I think it's hunkered down, but I'll check that surely. We'll ask
We
Mick.
haven't got Mick here to check it out.
Well, we're going to get him on the line in a minute.
Okay.
But so I've disinfected everything. You're at least 8 feet away from me, and there's no one else in the room as we speak. So...
and wearing a mask and gloves.
Yeah, I know. You do that.
Anyway.
You've done that for the last 8 years.
I realise.
So, as we speak, we'll get Mick on the line now, but it's starting to get serious because Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of Britain, England, is in intensive care with the virus. And has there been some chat about the virus and the dishonesty of the Chinese regime? The communist Chinese regime.
It's just forced everything else off the news, hasn't it?
Everything,
it's not even
Donald.
worthwhile buying a newspaper.
But look, you and I are
news
just mere stumblebums. We're going to get Mick on the line, and he has now got a sanitised caravan he's living in apparently down there. It's
really?
He's been decked out with insulation, and it's got fragrant antiseptic spray just infusing into it, so he's hunkered down there. I'm going to check that when we finish.
Has he parked it on the foreshore?
You're not allowed on the beach, Donald. Not allowed to do it.
I
Isn't it
thought
ridiculous?
I
You're
thought
allowed.
Mickey made his own rules.
You got him on the line? Well, I'll get him on the line because there's no one else here doing this except you and I. You know, you can play golf in Queensland and New South Wales, but you can't play golf in Victoria. How can you run a country when
I was talking about this with the with all these rules that are going around Australia, the inconsistency with my friend Muriel, who listens to this podcast, and you are right. Why can you do certain things in different states and not other things in different? It's just very confusing.
The line's ringing. This is the hotline.
Hello?
Mike!
Johnny boy.
Magic Mike. And Don's here 8 feet away, and there's no one else in the room except, I don't know why I keep saying that, just in case people believe us. There's no one else in the room.
Can you hear me okay?
You on the foreshore, Mickey.
What do you mean, can I hear you okay?
Well, sometimes there's a better reception than others.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear, which you always are, John.
And I just said that you were hunkered down. Is that a word, hunkered?
Yeah, that's okay.
Hunkered. Yep. Oh, Don wasn't sure if it was a word, but Don's
not
sure.
Don's now Don's your reference point on the English language now, is he?
No, I'm looking for you, Mickey.
No, Don, I said
phone.
Mick's hunkered down in a sanitised caravan down on the coast.
On the foreshore.
And Don said, I don't think hunkered is the word. And I said, we'll check.
It might be bunkered, but I think hunkered passes,
I think hunkered is the word, and bunkered is a bastardised adaptation of it.
Did you get your medical results, Mick?
Donald, just before you go, hunkered is squat or crouch down low.
That's it.
Apply oneself seriously to a task. I don't know if it's...
Hunkered is
Are we
correct.
on air?
Of course we're on air,
the
Mick.
radio?
What do you think? We're just ringing you to have a chat. Now, Mick, I'll just tell you this now, and I'm speaking to the three of us. It's a bit difficult when you're on the phone, so we don't talk over one another. We will let you speak, and when we think you've finished, Don, are you listening? When Don thinks you've finished, he'll speak, because Don just seems to speak when he thinks it's a good idea, that he's got something to say and he just interrupts. So we're going to try...
Well, some people would say about time, Johnny. A good call.
So,
now, just so that we dispose of this, hunkered down for the night is right. The use is appropriate.
How did I know that I'd be right when I said hunkered down?
Because you're never wrong. You're never wrong.
Been wrong 3 times in my life. And hello to all my ex-wives. Now, listen.
What?
So just it will get world attention if Boris Johnson falls off the edge of the planet because he's in intensive care with the virus, and that will get people's attention, that.
Yes, it's very sad, isn't it? I mean, it's no more sad than it is of any other person. But,
no more sad, Mick. And isn't it amazing that his popularity, Angela Merkel's popularity, Boris's and Donald Trump's popularity has gone through the roof since the virus? What does that tell you?
Well, I think it shows us about the human spirit that we want to embrace people who fall on hard times, don't we?
We do, and I'll tell you what this has shown, this virus has shown. It has got rid of all the identity politics, all the trans chat about sport, all the toilets, all the, what do you call them?
Well, there's a good reason for that, John.
Yeah, because
the good reason for that, because the world is collapsing in front of our eyes.
Exactly, Mick, and those trivial, unimportant matters that people just worry their lives about, the identity of what we are doing on this planet goes into the back row because there is a pandemic. It needs a pandemic to bring the world together, doesn't it?
Well, are you observing? Good morning, Don. Anyway, are you observing the?
I'll just let
protocols
you
of the
two
pandemic?
go. I'm having coffee and a cake, so you two continue. I'll enjoy
Don, join in the
Sam.
conversation, please.
Very hard to do so, Johnny.
Well, go ahead.
Go, Michael.
No,
Hello, Don.
Yeah, how
did
are
you say hello? We've done that 5 minutes ago, Don. Go on, go ahead.
Well, I'll get you something thinking, Don. I'll give you something to think about. You have become a media tart. All right,
Oh, what?
Donald? A media tart.
Whore.
Is
None
that
of us.
prostitute?
Wait a minute.
A media whore.
Well, close enough.
Prostitute?
Sam and I, who are close to you, we didn't know where you were for 25 years. Suddenly, you're on podcasts plural. You had book launches, and on Saturday night, I was just flicking through the radio late at night on 693, and there you are with Rex Hunt.
Well, that
Now,
show
what's
is put
happened to
on
you?
for blokes exactly like you and Rex who were going to blow their brains out, so all tune in, you people that are on the edge.
What you say then, Don?
You heard, and Michael thought it was funny because he laughed.
No, what do you mean he's going to blow his brains
I
out?
said it's put on for people who are susceptible to blowing or could blow their brains out.
What-
It'll just give
what?
them a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
What are
Well,
you
you
talking
are.
about?
So I went on there and
Sammy,
Now, hang
Let
on,
me
hang
explain,
on.
Sammy.
in actual fact, that was a very good. I thought it was a very good interview. He got a lot of things out of me that no one else has. So well done, Rexy.
well, that's because you haven't spoken to anyone for 30 years.
No, I'm doing this isolation very easily too, Mick.
Could I, Mick, could I
Yes,
revisit?
Johnny.
Are you not interested in Don's throwaway line that this station or Rex's program is for people who are about to blow their brains out? Could you expand on that, Don, please? What does that mean?
Well, who would be listening at that hour of the night to Rex Hunt
10 o'clock.
on Saturday night?
10 o'clock?
Mickey was.
Well, there you
Another
are.
friend, Gary Bishop, was. He's down at Sorrento too. It must be hot down in Sorrento, Mick. Got nothing to do.
Well, it's the highest rating radio station in Australia.
What, Rex's show at
Yeah.
10 o'clock on a
No,
Saturday night?
3AW is. So there'd be a fair number of people hanging over from the morning and afternoon shows. And they
Oh,
would
really?
listen.
Would they? What, they'd be there
really?
for,
Is that
they'd be
right,
there for
Johnny?
14 hours, Sam, would they?
Yeah.
I said there'd be a fair number of people who would hang on and have it as a background noise. And then when they hear Rex, why were you listening to Rex, Mick? I didn't. Have you made up? Fiona Byrne was
No.
correct.
Actually, I told a fib. Someone told me that Don was on Saturday night with Rex, and I thought, who would go to Rex and Don for counselling, Sammy?
So you told
you-
another fib, Mick.
Well, it's a little white lie.
You've told plenty of those over the last fortnight. I tell you, there's a subtle distinction between being an outright liar or just telling little fibs and white lies. You are what you are, Mick, is you prevaricate. Don, doesn't he?
Do I?
Don?
Ask Don, yeah. Do I prevaricate, Don?
I don't know. Can you look that word up on your phone?
Exactly. I knew that was coming. I could see the cogs churning through his eyelids. So you say one thing and mean another, Mick. Why would you be listening to Rex, or you weren't?
I wasn't listening. Someone said to me, your mate Don Scott was on with your other mate Rex Hunt on Saturday night.
Well,
And I thought,
if Rex asked you to come on at 10 o'clock on 3AW, would you be interviewed by him? We could ask you over publicly now.
No.
Why not?
Well, because I don't want. Why? Why waste my time talking to someone I don't want to talk to?
But that's
It's called theatre, Michael. You've
interviewed him.
Theatre, Don.
Yes, Michael. You're
No.
very, very thin-skinned. Anyway, how do those doctors? How are your
just
doctors?
one
I'd
minute.
just like to know about his chemical imbalance,
A big pun?
Michael.
What's that?
Well, you fluctuate between male and female.
Oh, this is not the testosterone thing
It
again, Don.
is.
Say that word for us. Say
estrogen,
and say the other one, starting with T.
testosterone.
Well done.
Thank you. Is it like H or
Well,
Uch?
what are you talking about, Don?
Exactly.
Again, what are you talking about?
Michael,
I
you are
fluctuate
very,
it.
very flighty for a male.
Don't touch the microphone.
Oh God, you are very
No, I
flighty,
heard him.
Michael.
No,
Coming
Mick,
from you, Don.
Mick,
What, John?
you said, why would I be bothered talking to someone I don't like? Is he not the man you had on open mic some years ago?
Yeah, yes.
Well, so where does the logic of that?
Because he was an interesting subject. That's why he was on there.
Well, Sen, if he came on your show and he asked you to go on his show, why wouldn't you reciprocate?
Well, because
Crickets,
it's simple,
Jack,
matter, 'cause
please.
wait
There's
a
no one
second.
else in the room. It's only Don and I here. I'll have to do the crickets myself. Go on. Why wouldn't you reciprocate? That's how it works.
Because I don't want to.
Oh, well, so
I don't want to go down.
Listen, move on to
I don't
another
wanna-
subject. This has been going on for weeks. It's boring.
so Mick, all right, Don. Would you want to bring up a
righto,
interesting
Don.
subject? Well, I'll bring one up.
Michael, I'd like to know. I haven't been down to Sorrento.
Football. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I'd just like to know about the signs that have gone up down there. Is it keeping the visitors away, Michael? You being a visitor?
I'm not a visitor. I'm a resident and ratepayer, Don.
You are. That's right. And you own two properties, and one is down there. But you are a visitor.
I'm not a visitor at all.
What the hell, Don? Please, man. How can you?
Well, there has been a sign that has gone up. Visitors, please stay out or go
Well,
home.
he's not a visitor. He's got a house and a property there and has for 30
Yeah.
years, and he pays rates,
Yeah.
Don. That's probably his domicile.
No, it is not his place of
Domicile.
domicility.
And the other thing, Don, that question is
Domicility,
About,
as opposed to
domicile.
imbecility.
Don, there's an issue with the health. I understand that, the public health. I'll tell you what, there's an equally big issue. If none of those so-called visitors you talk about ever come down here, the place will die.
It did die. It used to die in winter, Michael.
What?
Sorrento. Before the ferry before the ferry got to Sorrento, it died in winter. Sorrento.
Well, the ferry came.
The ferry opened up traffic, and people then started driving around
What, in the
bay.
winter?
This is back in the 90s, and Sorrento has never been the same. It was an idyllic little village that went to sleep in wintertime and came awake in
idyllic,
summer.
was it?
Yes, it
Idyllic.
was. Idyllic.
Idyllic, yeah.
Idyllic. Smart Alec. Now, Mick,
Oh,
Don
yes,
Don
John.
tells me, I don't know if I should say this, but he told me this in confidence. Don't touch the microphone, Don, for
Michael,
God's
please,
sake.
this is difficult, mate.
No, I mean, Don told me that there has been a death. Don, has been a death recorded as a result of a skiing. I'm not making light of this, incidentally. This is not a joke. There's been a death associated with a visit to Aspen with some residents at Portsea or Sorrento.
No.
Go ahead, Don, please.
No. They went skiing
Yes.
in Aspen, separate to the Portsea crowd.
Oh, I see.
And unfortunately,
There's been
husband and wife came back and contracted the disease.
Yes.
The wife survived, but unfortunately, the husband passed away.
And then there's nothing to do
It's
with
got nothing
Sorrento
to
or
do.
Portsea.
It's got nothing to do. These people lived at Flinders out that way,
Is this
but it must have been
Has this
a
been
hot spot, Aspen, as far as this coronavirus.
Is this been on the? Is this widely known? Has this been on the news or publicised?
Well, I don't know because I am not getting the newspapers, and it wasn't reported
Mick?
on the television stations.
Do you know that, Mick?
No, I only know that we're updated daily on the casualty count of the virus.
Oh, well, you made it out as though it happened in Portsea or Sorrento, Don.
It happened on the Mornington Peninsula, John, and you assumed that it happened there. But anyway, it is a very...
Yes.
Well, it's sad. Every
it's
person
very,
who passes
very sad.
It is. But Johnny, talking about, let's stay with the virus for a moment. Are you observing the protocols this week or not?
The protocol, what, as in social distancing and insulating
And
myself?
staying at home?
Yeah, absolutely.
Staying at home?
Of course, Mick. It's the first time I've ventured out. It's like hibernation. The bear has suddenly seen that the summer is coming on and he's come out of his cave. I've just come down here. Scott Morrison said we must continue with the podcast because we are an essential service. So Don's braved the elements to sit 8 feet away and there's no one else in the room except Don and I. Did I say that? How many times have I said that already?
Yeah, you said that. Now, I want to ask you two things about that. There's no one else in the room. Obviously, Jeff Kennett's not in the room. This is the 5th week in a row that you've promised that we would have Kennett on, and he's not there?
Oh, Johnny gave him a bit of a touch-up last week. Didn't you listen, Michael?
Oh, well, no, I didn't, as a matter of fact, Don.
Because he'd
what
rung
did you
off
say?
by then, Don. He'd rung off. Now, so Mick, I'm very glad you asked me that. I only have told you that Jeff Kennett would come on because Jeff Kennett told me he would come on. 5 times he's told me, and as recently as last Sunday week, he said, I will confirm, but I will be in, and I'll confirm one way or the other on Sunday, so it'll give you time to get another guest up, which I've never heard from him for 8 days. Now, could I say, if we ask people to come on here, and we've asked plenty, and for different reasons, no one is obliged to come on here. If they could just tell us that, no, thank you, I don't wish to come on don't even have to give us a reason. Jeff has said 5 times he'll come on, and I have plenty of questions to ask him about the AFL, which he's a integral member of. He was an ex-premier. I'd ask him what he'd do about the coronavirus should he be in power. I'd ask him about Beyond Blue. I'd ask him about Don and his legendary state. There's plenty of things we could ask Jeff. That's all because we are as good as, well, we're probably better than the guests we get on, but we like to have the guests because it gives us a bit of light and shade.
Bit of diversion, yes. Now, all right, I've got one. We've disposed of Kennett. Now, what do you do? You're a golfaholic. You play probably a minimum 3 times a week. You're not sneaking out to the capital and having a walk around, are you? Or you're just not playing? You've gone cold turkey.
No, well, I'll tell you what I've done. I'm happy to mention their name, although I paid full price for it. But I've got a golf net, which I've put on my Twitter and Instagram pages, a golf net which you can hit balls into, and I do that at my warehouse I have, and I come down here on my own, and there's no one else in the warehouse, and I unlock the door and come in and play.
Well, naturally you would unlock the door.
Oh, well, so no one's in here to open the door for me, Don, because we're not in business with people at the minute.
What, in between shots you're lifting your biceps using your barbells?
Sometimes, Don, I am,
How
yes.
are the biceps?
Well, they're a lot better than
Tricep,
yours. Spaghetti arms.
Still a little bit of loose skin on the triceps.
Yeah, that's because, Don, when you haven't got blood pumping into where your muscles are, they hang down, and that gives your muscles room to expand when you exercise, something that you don't have at the minute. Mick, how are you going?
Are you embarrassed by your tuck shop arm, Sammy? I mean, the rest of your body is in mint condition.
Well, he hasn't got the Botox around there yet, Mickey.
Hey, Sammy,
now listen, Mick. Sense.
What?
Can we get back
Don
to
thinks he's on. Don thinks he's on a roll. I'm going to give him enough rope.
Will you shut up, Mickey? What about this coronavirus? Have you looked at? I looked last week about where it is, and it seems to be in the more affluent areas. The top 3 places are Stonington. That council looks after Malvern, Toorak, South Yarra, Burundara, Hawthorn, Camberwell, and also the third one is Mornington Peninsula.
Well,
go on.
Yeah, but isn't there a simple explanation for that?
Yes,
that
there is.
The people who reside in those areas are far more likely to travel, Don, to travel to places like Aspen.
Exactly right, Mick. I haven't.
Therefore, if they do,
I spoke to a
Yeah.
couple of people who were in Aspen not long ago, and they said they went to a lot of functions out there and onto people's boats. Not that there's a lot of boats in Aspen, but they said they've been to a lot of functions and they never met
A lot of boats in Aspen. There would
Aspen.
not be one boat in Aspen.
I said there's not a lot of boats, and they said they didn't meet one person from Sunshine or Altona North out there at all skiing. They had gone to San Fran Footscray for their holidays.
No, although they were on the boats, Sammy, those people from Sunshine and Altona North. There's not many boats
They'd
there.
out at Williamstown in little tinnies fishing.
Hey,
Now,
Mickey, what do you think
Sammy.
about globalisation now, the way these affluent people are able to travel and also convey this disease around the world? Globalisation's
think
been
it-
in for about
you think-
30-odd years. Do you think there should...
You think travel's new, Don, do you?
No, I'm talking about globalisation.
Well, that means what people who travel from one country to another.
What is happening, certain things are done in certain parts of the world nowadays. Very easy to get those goods or services, and also the travel factor, very much easier to do than what it was years ago. Do you think we should go back into some type of isolation or self-sufficiency as a nation?
Sam, can you interpret that for me, please?
Not at all. No, I see. Don says, I never got time to say anything. So we give him time, and this is what we get. We have to decipher most of Don's topics so that people listening, we've got over 1 million people have uploaded us. Do you know that? And I noticed.
Stop bragging.
No, well, Mick, I notice it says that podcast audiences are up across Australia, and I reckon we'd be number one, wouldn't we?
Well, does it matter? I mean,
No, of course it
If
does.
we are,
Bragging
that's
rights, we
good.
like that.
yeah, that's all. Now, Sammy, you know how you and I are often talking about the state of the world and the 7 billion people that inhabit it?
Yes.
I reckon we've reached a new low or a new high this week. There were twins born to a couple in India, and they've called them Corona and COVID. Now, there is no end. There is no end to the imagination of the human species, is there? What did they call them? What about in the old days when you and I were born? What about if someone called their twins like polio and diphtheria?
Or measles and polio, or scarlet fever,
or
scarlet and fever.
Or syphilis and gonorrhea. I'd like you to meet my two daughters, syphilis here, and this is gonorrhea. And we've had them for, they're a year old, and I know people are mad, Mick. They are stone raving mad.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. Can I just?
So obviously you're going to the same sources as Johnny is for all this useless information, Mick.
I didn't know that, Don.
I'm going to the paper, Don, which you probably haven't read since
Right.
the Argus was in existence.
Exactly right. And Mickey, what about the races? You watching the races?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
And
Yeah.
what about
How are the races still on?
Will you just shut up for a moment? What about the betting agencies that are being advertised or advertising all the time, putting more strain financially on people? I wonder how the betting numbers have gone up.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have gone up.
Well, it's the only it's the only sport on TV.
How is it still on,
true,
Don?
That's true.
Well, because
How is-
what I'm getting to is the fact that it is turning over money, and that money is going to the coffers of the government.
Don, how is racing still allowed to exist when no other sport?
Because it is driving money. It is.
Well, football drives money.
No.
Don, that's not the answer.
Well, what is the answer,
Because-
Michael? Why haven't they
Well,
closed the
Sammy's
building?
right.
Why haven't they closed the building industry down? Because it turns over a lot of money in the state of Victoria. I think it's a.
But you could argue, though, that that's an essential service, could you not? If they're going to build apartment blocks or whatever else they're building, isn't that an essential service?
No, I don't think so. Not in this time.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you watch. So what? People just got nowhere
No,
to live.
if the building industry stopped, it'd be catastrophic in Victoria.
That's what Mick says. He just said that.
Yeah.
It's an essential industry.
Yeah.
Don.
No, it is a money-driven decision.
Don, you just said if
No,
Don.
they cannot afford to close it down.
That's what Don. You just said it's an essential industry. That's what you said.
I'm not. It's not an essential industry.
Oh, it's not.
It's not an
Building
essential,
places.
but it is only because the government are allowing it, because it's turning over a lot of people. It'd have
So,
ramifications.
Donald,
Yes,
Donald,
Michael.
you said You said it is not essential industry, but no
It's
one
not
can
an
afford to close
essential
it down.
industry. It's not an essential industry. Everybody's housed in Victoria. We don't have to go around building more than what we're doing.
Oh, no, yeah, everyone's housed
You should get
on
to the
there.
city occasionally, Don.
Yeah.
Every second person sleeping
Stroll
on
under
the
the
street.
Swan Street Bridge. Have a look how many people are camping under that.
Yeah. Hey, what,
What do you-
what about,
we've got
hey,
a-
Now, Mick,
I want to ask you something. Yeah?
well,
I want to ask
yeah, go ahead.
whose go is it?
I'll give yours.
Well, I want to ask you, you refuse to watch anything that is produced in Australia on television. Did you happen to come by the Maguire-Jones and Maguire-Wilson stouches last week?
Yes, I did, Michael. I thought it was. I didn't think it was good television.
Well,
You didn't.
No,
well, what? Why didn't you? I didn't see it,
thought,
but I was
thought
told.
Eddie was just a little bit too emotive. I thought he'd lost his marbles.
Well, why wasn't
and
that
I
good
thought
television?
He was very. Well, do we have to see people in that state?
What do you think? Ed's lost the
Well-
plot and he's dropped off.
Well, I questioned it. Why is he so?
Well, he should have
emotive over
listened to you and Rex. He should have listened to you and Rex on Saturday night. That would have straightened him up.
So you're questioning Eddie's mental state of mind, are you?
Yes.
What?
In actual fact, I rang you and asked you, why is he so emotive? Why couldn't he remain rational to a question that was asked?
Because I know what you're talking about. I've heard it secondhand, but I think Tony Jones asked him, would Eddie be giving back the membership fees for the Collingwood people, seeing as there's no season and they haven't got their money?
No.
Thank
The
you,
Collingwood
Michael.
people,
I'm glad you've come
the
in.
Collingwood people, Sammy, who had fallen on hard times.
Yes.
So there was a distinction there.
So what did you think of it, Michael? You're asking the
No,
question. Come up with an opinion.
Yeah, no, I thought Eddie grossly overreacted to it.
No.
And
I agree.
John?
I agree.
Well,
This is a conversation between Don and I because we happen to see it.
no, but Mick,
Will you shut up, John.
Well,
John, will you just be quiet? Michael, go on.
So I thought Tony Jones's question was reasonable. I didn't have an issue with that, and I reckon Eddie would have gone home and would have, if he ever does belt himself, he would have over calling him a smartass, wouldn't he?
May I?
Called himself a smartass.
No, he called Jones a smartass.
Yes, he lost it.
May I?
He did, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
No, you don't, because you, as usual, you never bothered to watch anything
Mick.
that's of any interest locally.
Mick, you just said then that the premise of the question was that if people were on hard times who were Collingwood members and had paid their membership, would the club thinking of giving the money back? Is that what the premise was?
Yes.
Well, thank you. So I can comment on that if you don't mind. And my comment is that if you have paid a membership for a football side, whether it be Collingwood or anyone else, and the season doesn't go ahead, it doesn't matter. If you've paid and committed to be a member of a club for the year, you have an intangible thing, which is going to games. If the games aren't on, you've paid the money anyhow. So what does it matter? You're not as though you're going to receive something that you can carry home in the boot of your car. You are going to an intangible thing, which is not on.
Okay, Sammy, righto. What about if you'd paid for theatre tickets to go and see Elton John, and Elton John didn't turn up for the coronavirus or whatever other reason? Would you not expect a refund?
Yeah, because you're not paying Elton John to be a membership of Elton John's fan club or be a member of a club that he is part of. You are paying a indirect fee to support your club.
It's
What
a
happens?
direct
Are you a member? John, hang on, Michael. Are you a member of a club, John?
I'm a member. I have 6 membership tickets at Geelong, which I've paid
And you
for.
can afford that.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. You can afford it. A lot of people can't.
Excuse me, Donald. I've got 6 membership tickets at Geelong, which 2 of my sisters, my only 2 sisters, buy 2 of them, so they buy 4 of them. They are not affluent people. But I said, do you think that you should get your money back to my sisters? And they said, no, we are supporting our club no matter what. Could I ask you this, Mick? Say you're a member of the Collingwood Football Club and you've paid your membership and they don't win a game for the year. They finish last on the ladder. Would you require your money back, would you, or what?
No, because you've had the opportunity to see your football team play 22 times.
Well, say that you become a member of the Collingwood Football Club, and at the start of the season you become chronically ill and can't go to any games because you're hospitalised for the whole year and you don't see any of them. Would you ask for your money back then?
No. Because,
why not?
Because the product that you've purchased is still there. It's just that you can't go to see it.
Well,
I think that
the product is not. You can't go and see it anyhow because it's not on.
No, but that's not the footy club's fault.
Of course.
As it stands at the moment, people have invested in membership for varying amounts in the belief that they would be able to watch their footy team play for the year, right?
That is correct.
I understand. I would leave my membership in, right? I mean, I would actually leave it there and sort of say, well, it's unfortunate, but that's okay. But if there are people who actually scrimp and save to buy a membership and then don't get to see the footy team, I think they've got a case to sort of say, look, we have genuine hardship here. I've got to pay my rates or my car registration.
They've outlaid the money anyhow. They've outlaid it in the hope that the season will go ahead. Just because it doesn't go ahead, they've still outlaid the money whether it goes ahead or not.
Yes, they have. Yeah, well, Don and I have, as usual, defend the bloke in the street, and you've taken your elite attitude again.
Now, my elite attitude, if you support your club by buying a membership, you should support it no matter what.
Well,
that's the idea of it, isn't it?
I think all you're doing is supporting your club, is putting more money into the coffers of the people employed by the club, and it's about time. Well, it is a lot of talk.
But that's a different argument.
It's not. From membership, a lot of money is derived.
Well, that's how they keep the club and the facilities.
That's right, and all you're doing is paying wages. I reckon a lot of fat could be trimmed out of football clubs anyway.
Now,
it will be.
Now, Mick,
pardon? What was that?
It will be. There's no doubt about that.
Now,
talking about what?
I was just.
Whose go is it?
Well, I was just going to say, we have a guest coming in, and before he comes in, maybe we could just cover a couple of things. Firstly, we spoke about Ben Cousins last week and the pretty ordinary doco they did on it. From all accounts, I didn't see it, but you and Don...
The one that you didn't see,
I just said I didn't see it.
Why don't you keep up with things?
Don, please, I've forgotten more about life than you've ever known.
You're a current affairs commentator, Sammy. I'm serious about this. How can you actually sit there and pontificate about these issues when you don't even... You do. You don't even choose to watch
it clashes, Michael. It clashes with CNN News.
I'm not... I'm not pontificating about Ben Cousins. You said that you and Don watched a documentary on him that was pretty ordinary, and you told us that, and I'm saying to you now, in light of the Ben Cousins saga, have you ever thought that Ben, when all else has failed, someone might get him, put him in a car and drive him along to the Margaret Court Ministries? She is Mick. Mick, when all else fails, maybe he will find the Saviour. He might be a born-again person because nothing else... Yes?
Sammy.
Yes?
Our boy Benny is not looking for any salvation. He is quite happy living the life that he's been living for the last 15 or 20 years. No. If you had watched it the other night, as Donald and I did, there is no hint from him that he's trying to change his lifestyle.
Margaret Court is a Pentecostalist. She embraces the Saviour. And
I don't care whether she's Billy Graham. I mean, you're not going to change it.
So Margaret Court might take Ben under her wing, be a big wing, and find salvation in the Holy Spirit or Christ himself, Mick, because lots of people in times of endeavour and hardship turn to the Saviour.
Right. Now,
hey, Mick, can I ask you
what's wrong with that?
Can we get onto a little bit of sense? Mick, these loans that are being handed out from the government, the benefits and whatever else, where is all the money coming from?
Well, they're either printing it or borrowing it, aren't they?
Well, I think they're on the verge of printing it, and that's a dangerous situation to be in, isn't it? If it continues.
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. But I mean, I think the priority is to try to stabilise the economy, isn't it? However,
yes, but isn't this how the depression happened back in the 20s?
My memories are hazy of this.
Yeah, because we were only living in the 20s, Don. You were too. But before
talking about money, Donald, I think you should be a socialist. What about this? Two items came across my desk in the
caravan.
In the caravan. Twiggy Forrest bought shares in his company the other day, Fortescue. Spent $278 million on them in February and March. And then last night I was watching a piece on Amazon on Four Corners, Johnny.
Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos is worth $125 billion. Should there be a ceiling on the amount of money one person or trust or family can have?
And also, should there be a ceiling on wages for...
So you're answering a question with a question, Don, are you?
And I'm adding to his question. And Michael, we could also go on and put a ceiling on employees. These are the chief executives of the various high-profile institutions such as banks, etc.
Employers.
That are getting huge, overpaid.
Employees are the people who work for the employers, Don. Employers, you mean?
Michael, it's embarrassing what these chief executives of the big companies are getting, and it should be looked into.
Do you mean the employers?
Will you shut up, John? Michael?
Yes, Don, I'm listening to you. Okay. No, I agree. I mean, someone wrote the other day that Mike Carlton wrote this on a tweet. He said that Mr. Joyce, the Mr. Joyce that we see more of, you know Mr. Joyce, Sammy?
Yeah, Mr. Joyce and
Mr. Joyce.
Mr. Joyce, the Qantas Mr. Joyce, as opposed to his...
He gets $25 million a year.
Really?
And then his company, admittedly, has been smashed by the virus, but his company going cap in hand to the government for a handout.
But Mr. Joyce has got a husband to support. His husband, Mr. Joyce, has
to... You have milked this. I didn't think there was
Come on, Michael, get on to a little bit of
sense. A family unit, if you're husband and husband, he has a husband to support, so you can't begrudge Mr. Joyce providing for the family unit.
Will you shut up, John, with your dribble?
Do either or both of you think that people like Forrest and Bezos should be able to accumulate the money that they have?
No, I'm all for entrepreneurs. We need entrepreneurs in this country, and I think they should be given encouragement in all. We have got to become a self-sufficient nation, and unfortunately we're not, Mick, and we should be bringing in tariffs. I'd be looking really closely, I mentioned earlier, about globalisation, and I would bring tariffs back in.
Globalisation?
Yeah, well, what happens, Mick, is we outsource a lot of things that we used to manufacture in our own country.
Because our labour's too expensive.
Exactly, Michael, and this is a realisation or reality check for everybody in Australia.
What about this, Mick? What about if we...
John, Michael and I are trying to have a conversation. Yes, John.
What about this, Don? What about this? That if we don't want to just throw the capitalist free enterprise system on the scrap heap, that when you earn over a certain amount on this planet, like if you earn over $1 billion a year by doing something, or 500 million, you get taxed at 80%. That the people who earn these extraordinarily and exorbitant amounts actually give back to the community
I think Forrest is a very generous man with what he does with his money also.
Yes, he is. No, I agree with that. But Donald, what I'm saying, wrap your head around this. He bought shares worth $280 million in the space of a month.
In his own company?
I mean, yeah.
Now,
and Bezos is worth $125 billion.
Yep. Well, so what happens if you taxed him at 80% and you got...
No, I like your idea, Sammy. I like your idea. Yep. Okay, now it's 20 to 10, right?
Now,
I want to ask you a question. I've got to get this in before 10 o'clock.
Football?
George Pell knows his fate at 10 o'clock this morning.
Oh, does he?
Yes, he does. These are events that happen in your country, Sambo.
So Mick, if
What about that, just talking about that, what about that show that was on the ABC last week where it came out and questioned George Pell? Why did they happen to let it go a week before George Pell was going, or the judgment was handed down?
Because they're capitalising on the...
Will you shut up, John? Yes, Mike?
No, Sammy, Don, I actually, it's a legitimate question because it crossed my mind too while I was watching it. That was a 3-part series called Revelation on the ABC, which I thought was a brilliant production and just reinforced how good Sarah Ferguson is. But your timing question is relevant because it was a week before the judgment. But then the other people sort of say, well, don't think that the High Court judges are going to be swayed by what they see on television.
Oh, Michael, they would be swayed if they watched it because new evidence came forward.
Yeah, but he's not charged with that.
Oh, I understand, but they would still be... Michael, they would still be swayed if they watched it.
Don. He's only been charged with the incident, so-called incident in the sacristy.
So you asked a question which Don took no notice of and told me to shut up 3 times because I've got a feeling that when you tell me to shut up, you've got a feeling that my answer is going to blow your completely stupid and nonsensical opinion out of the water. Now listen to me.
I'm just sick of your dominance.
George Pell, Mick asked, because we're doing this before 10 o'clock, he's asking you, I think, for a prognostication as to what you think. What? A guess as to what you think will happen to George Pell. And I am saying, this is my opinion, that on the basis of the evidence, you could not convict George Pell.
And I agree with you.
Well, why didn't you say that with going on about what you went on with and didn't answer the question? And that's what I was going to say. Yes.
Yeah, now, but Sammy, you've oversimplified it. Apparently, I'm not claiming to be an expert in law, but I think there has to be a legal impediment in the previous judgment to have it overturned.
It has to be some new evidence has come to light. It has to be, doesn't it?
Well, I think, or that the previous jurisdiction didn't apply sufficient weight to certain points.
Well, fair enough.
I don't think it's a question. Well, then they have the High Court, the appeal system isn't rehearing the case. I think it's trying to determine whether, in fact, that Pell got his legal entitlement.
Correct. And one of the judges, one of the 3 judges, said that he was not guilty, and the other 2 said he was. So it wasn't even unanimous.
Yeah, correct.
Now, could I just, before we introduce, because we're going to finish this, but I just wanted to, before we introduce our special guest, because we have one, believe it or not, I wanted to ask you about football and the fact that there's going to be a 17-game season apparently, and in the interim, all the newspapers and all the media are picking their best sides for Richmond and the best sides. I see Wayne Carey's done the best ever side since 1987 or whatever.
No, he's top 20 players.
Since 1987, I think he said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but not his best side, his best players.
Yes, correct. Well, okay, so this can go on for years. We can have the best from all the 18 clubs, so that'll fill in 18 weeks, and then we can go the most handsome, the best left foot, the best hand passer, the best running style, the best haircut, the best vocabulary. We can go on and on and on until the season eventually starts. And the reason I'm saying this is... Go ahead.
Yeah, why?
The reason I'm saying this is because we have a special guest coming up who probably fits into all those categories, but we're not going to introduce him now.
Not best haircut. No, not best haircut.
Maybe.
Well, he's got no hair.
Well,
exactly.
When did you last see him?
Sammy, you know who started these lists, don't you?
I do, Mick. I was
you, Mickey, was it?
Yeah, it was Don. In fact, I was my boss at the time, Jeff Slattery, commissioned the project, so I'm not taking the credit for it, but when I was working at the Sunday Age under his editorship,
tutelage,
he said, I want you to name the best player in the competition in the paper in a month or whenever the time was. And I said, okay. And he said, I want you to put 49 behind him in order. And I thought, Jesus, that's a fairly tough assignment, that. Anyway, that was the birth of the top 50. And yes,
And
So you take credit for it, but really Jeff Slattery should be up there in lights.
No.
His
I
name
just
should-
said that, Don.
No, but you take credit for it. Michael Sheehan's top 50.
No, Don. You tell me to shut up again. Don.
What?
Mick
Yeah?
said that Jeff Slattery said, name the best player, and then Jeff Slattery said to Mick, and name the next 49 in order. Jeff Slattery
Correct.
didn't do that. Mick did that, Don. Don.
The idea came from...
So the idea came from Slattery, but
Exactly.
But Mick,
That's right.
Mick had
Mick's
to name.
never had an idea in his bloody life.
Mick
He's a
had-
follower.
What's it?
He's a follower.
Now,
Yes.
Sammy,
Jesus.
get off me, Scotty. Now, every bloke since, Sammy,
Yes.
every bloke excluding Mark Jackson, because he wouldn't be able to count from 1 to 50, everyone since has done a list of people in some element of football.
Right. So
The best or...
so Wayne.
So what are you saying?
So Wayne Carey has just come out this week with the best.
Yeah,
How many? 50 was it? Best
20 in order. 20 in order.
20 in
yeah.
order. And
Yep.
Wayne Carey's list cannot possibly be wrong because it's his list. But there are
I know.
probably
no
some.
one's saying it's wrong.
I know that. There's probably some interesting omissions. Incidentally, the
Yeah.
man we're going to speak to is right up near the top of that list, and he will be joining us when we go to the next segment of this, which will
Can
be
I guess
shortly.
who it is? Is it-
No,
No,
you can't.
you
it Gary
just shut
Ablett?
up. No, just sit. Michael,
So-
Not
why
Gary
is it?
Ablett,
Why
okay.
isn't credence given to teams? I said
To
this
what?
weeks ago. Why isn't credence given to teams or teams recognised? It's a team game. It's not an individual game. We've lost
Yeah.
the concept of what football was all about. Why aren't teams acknowledged?
Because it's an adaptation.
Well, they are.
When, Michael? I haven't seen the best team for...
Richmond.
Well, there's often a discussion about how good is Richmond, comparing it with Geelong, comparing it with the Brisbane Lions, comparing it with the great Hawthorn teams. There's plenty of discussion about that.
So
And why are you both pausing over that? You know, we've watched everything. We've watched every game since 1897 in the last month.
No, we haven't. We've watched a lot of modern history. Why don't we get a little bit of ancient history? The
Well, I'll
games
give
go
you
back
something-
to the 50s.
Right. I'll give you something from your club, Donald. I've seen the best highlights package since Gary Ablett Senior, and it's on YouTube
ABC?
at the moment.
It's on what?
No,
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yep.
And have a guess who it's of. And from your club, Don, this is singularly the best highlights package.
You can
that
make
I've seen
anybody
for
look a
20
star.
years.
Listen, Michael, you can make anybody look a star if they've played a number of games.
that's a good point, Don.
No, you can't.
Yes, you
No,
can.
Michael.
You can,
No,
Mick.
it's
I
a
was
silly point.
poetry and Michael. I was poetry in motion.
You didn't even
No, you
have a
weren't.
rhyme.
I was.
You
if you
weren't
look
even.
at my edited highlights, I was poetry in motion.
You didn't even
You-
rhyme your poetry.
Come on, give it. Who is it, Michael?
Well, he played for Hawthorn,
Matthews.
and it's no. This is I'm talking about in an exponent of the pure
Okay,
skills of this game.
I'll give it to you. Peter Knights.
No, Cyril Rioli. It's unbelievably good. I mean, if you watch this, it would reinforce your faith in footy, Sam.
But
And you
Don,
would say, how can anyone play it at this level? And
Now,
it's
Mick.
the
don't be that.
What?
Don't be an arsehat, Mick. Don is correct.
W what?
An arsehat. Don't.
An
Don't.
arse hat.
What's an arse hat?
Well, don't be stupid.
What's an arse
Something
hat?
you sit on, is
Don't
it?
be dumb,
No,
Mick.
is it a hat you sit on?
It's an arse. Yeah, you sit on it. Don is correct. If you take the edited highlights out of someone's career who's played the game for 10 years or more, you can make them you can immortalise them.
That's bullshit. I think it's just arrant nonsense from you.
No, it is not.
That's not, Mick.
It is. I can't believe someone who professes to have a modicum of intelligence could say that. Are you saying now? I
Michael,
hope this
you
place
are
doesn't
wrong,
take it wrong.
Michael.
Just a minute, Don. What, Mick?
Are you saying, just for argument's sake, are you saying that we could watch Jude Bolton's highlights package from 300 games and he'd look like an immortal? Eh?
Exactly.
If you
Yes.
so what if an immortalised package goes for 90 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, there'd be 3 minutes of great play that Jude Bolton has been part of in the 300 games he's played, and you'd say, shit, what a great player.
Thank you.
You
Tony
would.
Liberatore, you'd find
Yes,
he'd be an immortal.
anybody,
after-
Michael, even
Yeah.
you, if you played 300 games, you'd be a star.
I can't wait to ask the next bloke on. I can't believe you two are talking this stuff.
Well, he's coming
Anyway,
up.
Sam, why
go
don't you-
off to the doctor and get your testosterone level checked, Mick.
Sam,
just
break new ground and watch this highlights package of Cyril Rioli.
I will.
And you'll.
I will. Just before we just move off and get on to our guest, who has just arrived.
We've got to wind this
Incidentally,
segment up.
and we're going to, Don. I'm going on to Wayne Carey's best 20 players since, I think, 1987, he said, and our guest is actually one of them. So how coincidental is that? But there would be, and it can't be wrong, Wayne's assessment, but
Why?
there'd be some,
you
because
said
it's
that
his
too,
opinion.
He was
Okay,
he
well,
played against them once or twice
hang
a
on.
year. How can you assess a player on that?
Because you don't have to play against them, you can just watch them. So some notable omissions, I would suggest. Dermot Brereton's not in it, Stephen Kernahan's not in it, and Simon Madden's not in
It's
it.
subjective.
And I know it's subjective, that's what I said, but they're three people I would have included, as opposed to two or three others that Wayne has selected. What do you think, Mick?
I think it's the difficulty is when they cross over that period. I mean, Madden's probably was his best footy in the early part of the 80s rather than the latter part of the 80s.
There were no ruckmen around in the early 80s.
Not necessarily, Mick. I think he
Okay,
played...
anyway, and these are the ones, the more recent times. I'll give you my assessment of the Carey list. No Luke Hodge, no Simon Black, two big omissions. Gary Ablett Jr. was way too low at 19. And Dustin Martin was too low. People keep saying Dustin Martin, he might become the best player we've seen. He's played 230 games this way.
But Mick,
John Coleman's a legend on 98 games.
Come on, righto.
This is what Carey said. He said it's weighted on a player's match-winning ability, his toughness and his leadership, and the importance to their team. So it's his opinion. You can't criticise Carey's opinion.
I didn't say he was wrong. I'm just saying if I had a list of 20, Hodge and Black would be in it and Martin would be in the top 5. And Gary Ablett would be 10
that's your
places
opinion,
higher.
Michael. That's your opinion.
Not Brereton? 7 times 7.
Yeah, I just want to see when Brereton ran out of gas. I mean, he was so battered.
What about a bloke called Michael Tucker who had 7
that's
runner-up as
87.
best and fairest?
1987, Don, I think he did. Is Tuck still playing in 87?
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Good point. So we're going to now speak to one of those people who's in
Can you wind Michael up, please?
Wayne's list. And Wayne's...
Am I off, Don?
No,
yes, you are.
No, we're going to finish this and we're going to ring you back because we want you to be part of speaking to our special guest. Is that all right?
Why don't I stay on the line then?
No, because we want to do 2 segments, Michael.
Okay.
This is a business decision, an executive decision.
Talking about business decisions, how's our money from the cave? Is it arrived yet?
I see, Mick.
I thought
Sammy?
you were doing this for other reasons, Michael.
I see. So
Sammy.
every time I used to mention the Lobster Cave and Bill Ferg, you used to say, why are we mentioning this? I said, because we've entered into a commercial arrangement with the Lobster Cave.
Yes.
Said, well, who cares? We don't need the money. We don't need to be doing this. I'm not selling my soul. And suddenly you're squawking down there in your humidity.
No.
He's not getting paid from
I wanted to know
Foxtel.
whether
That's your problem.
I wanted to know
Lost your
whether
contract, you
Bill
need money.
Whether Bill
did
what?
Bill Ferg, did he enter into the same commercial arrangement that we did?
But Bill,
John?
the Lobster Cave are honouring the commitment they gave us, but times are tough.
they?
And if you'll understand, Mick, restaurants have been closed down and we're giving them a fair amount of leeway. They've dribbled a little equity our way and we're going to disperse it when you actually eventually present yourself.
How's your financial situation with Fox, Michael? What are you getting paid there? Michael?
I'm not sure, Don.
Well,
Right,
you
I'm not
want
doing-
to check it out, Michael, because
All right.
they've obviously gone into a contract
Jack,
with you
so
you're not delivering.
so there's no one else in the room, but I'm going to lean over now and finish this, and we're coming back with our very special guest, and we'll ring you back, Mick. Well, we won't
Okay.
ring you back. We'll keep you on the line.
No, ring him back.
Ring him back.